साहब ने बात की with respect to कितनी shortfall है, और we have been talking about it for the longest time. It's always about the how part of it, and that too I think is encouraging. ये जो अभी आपने वीडियो देखा है, having been part of the journey myself over the last sort of 5 to 6 years, is very encouraging, because ये कोई ऐसी चीज़ नहीं है which we are now triggering. Now the point is where we are, how we scale it up. From my perspective, that is again a good position to be in, because foundation is there. Now more institutions have to come in and then sort of take it to the financing levels and any other thing that is associated with the bottlenecks, and I'll come back to that in a moment, कि हमने उसको कैसे resolve करना है. Coming to the PMRC journey, I think since the time PMRC came into being as a joint venture between Ministry of Finance, and I just want to be very clear कि Ministry of Finance बहुत low touch रहेगी, because I want गवर्नमेंट की जो इन्वॉल्वमेंट है जितनी मिनिमम हो सके उतनी मिनिमम करें. हम पॉलिसी फ्रेमवर्क दें, हम आपको पॉलिसी कंटिन्यूटी दें, और जो भी हम आपको फर्स्ट लॉस गारंटीज़ हैं या सब्सिडी अमाउंट्स हैं वो हम आपको ज़रूर देंगे, लेकिन हमारी अमल मुदाखलत बिल्कुल नहीं होगी, बिकॉज द प्राइवेट सेक्टर विच हैज़ टू लीड द कंट्री. सो दिस केम अप एज अ जॉइंट वेंचर बिटवीन मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस, द कमर्शियल बैंक्स एंड IFC, and I want to commend you because PMRC has indeed moved from strength to strength. Figures and statistics आपने खुद ही बता दी हैं in terms of the disbursements that have happened, and especially in the low cost space, and also from a diversity agenda, what the composition of your portfolio is. So all sounds good. Now where do we go from here? देखिए, इस हाउसिंग का डायरेक्ट लिंकेज है with two existential problems for Pakistan, and I keep on talking about it, and I'll keep on repeating it, that as much as we are now focused कि IMF के साथ कल क्या है, आज क्या है, immediate economic turnaround, taxation पे क्या है, energy reforms में हम क्या कर रहे हैं, SOEs के साथ क्या कर रहे हैं, privatization, two existential problems, और ये हम sequentially नहीं लेके चल सकते. ये इंतज़ार नहीं कर सकते कि ये 3 साल का प्रोग्राम कंप्लीट हो जाए and then we deal with it. One is population and the other is climate. Population related पहले भी बात हो चुकी है, 240-250 million netizens, unfortunately growing at 2.55%, which is not sustainable. उसके साथ जो चीज़ें जुड़ी हुई हैं और जो linkages हैं, चाइल्ड स्टंटिंग की बात है, उसके साथ जो पॉवर्टी लर्निंग की बात है, स्पेशली गर्ल्स आउट ऑफ स्कूल, एंड द थर्ड थिंग एसोसिएटेड विद दैट, हाउसिंग. बिकॉज हाउसिंग, ये दिस इज नॉट जस्ट अबाउट फाइनेंसिंग, दिस इज शेल्टर, दिस इज सोशो इकोनॉमिक स्टेबिलिटी, दिस इज एवरीथिंग एसोसिएटेड विद दैट इशू which is the population and the way we are growing. Therefore, housing is such a critical element, and to fix it, to get it right, is going to be very critical as we go forward. And the second is obviously climate. बहुत पहले भी चीज़ें हो चुकी हैं, earthquake आ चुके हैं, लेकिन 2022 के जो floods हैं was a real wake-up call in terms of rescue, rehabilitation, reconstruction. And you mentioned the government of Sindh. I do think they've done a very, very good job in terms of at least taking the first step in terms of moving towards more resilient housing, and how they have started moving in that direction, rather than वापस जाके उन्हीं water banks पे फिर वही घर बनाने हमने शुरू कर दिए. So that is something which is again linked to it. Now, so I just wanted to connect housing into these two things, and therefore the topic of your conference in terms of affordable and resilience part of it is directly linked with two existential problems for the country. अब आ जाइए कि different actors ने और different stakeholders ने करना क्या है. I was actually talking to the governor of State Bank only about a week back, just picking up the threads from where we left about 2 or 3 years back. और उसमें दो चीज़ें जो अभी आपने जिक्र नहीं किया, आपने you mentioned many other things, but two things which still have to be solved if we have to take mortgage financing and we want to encourage everyone to come into in a big way into it. One is, and we have talked about it for the longest time, a regulatory authority. And we haven't really done a good job in terms of taking that discussion forward. And therefore, it's something which I would be very keen to work with the governor to, because uske baghair, without the gradings and without saying, who's there and who's investable, who's bankable, it becomes tough. And the second is foreclosure. Again, we made some good progress over the years, but practically, no one is convinced that this is going to work or this is working. तो ये अपने आप को एक फरेब देने की बात है कि जी हमने वो फोरक्लोजर्स लॉ का कर दिया, हमने वो देख लिए जी, अब सब अच्छे की खबर नहीं, अच्छे की खबर. If people are not convinced that this is something which which provides them the protection, then it's not going to work. So that's what the government needs to do. These are the type of things which I think, in partnership with the State Bank, Ministry of Finance would be very would be forthcoming to provide any support from the government to take these two aspects forward. Again, to provide the enabling environment. Now let's come to the financing part of it and the banking industry. I think उसमें अभी आपने देखा है, some of the banks, some of the microfinance banks